6 socks.
Bonjour mes amis, hi guys, collection review for Mr. M, who's been living in Shanghai, China for the past 5 years. So as you know, past 2 years been difficult, many lockdowns in that city, while other cities at the moment are totally unaffected by COVID and people don't even wear the mask anymore. So it's not all of China that is affected right now. But Shanghai has been in the thick of it. And so, yeah, Mr. Ham has had a lot of time on his hand to think about watches and started accumulating quite a lot of them, about 20, 25 watches in the collection, 10 of them being Rolex. And I know many of you will quickly comment, oh, another boring Rolex collection. But please bear with us. Let's analyze a bit the psychology behind this Rolex frenzy. And yeah, there are other things in the collection anyway. A bit of context, China right now is maintaining a zero COVID dynamic, as they call it, while at the same time trying to spruik up the economy, which is embattled in a total housing market meltdown, which is triggering many wealthy citizens to get rid of luxury goods, luxury watches, and designer handbags, a bit freaked out by all the lockdowns and the idea that the boogeyman might come knocking at the door. So in this context, anyway, Mr. M has been accumulating a lot of watches. He actually started a long time ago. 2007 is when he got an early Planet Ocean that you see there with the orange bezel. And I've put all the watches here on the screen. Guys, if you have that many watches, please make it easy for me. Mr. M, you send me watches in pictures in crazy formats, some bizarre montages. It looks a bit like a crazy mess if I don't sort it out. So guys, if you want your collections to look good, avoid flash pictures, avoid making crazy montages unless you're very good at it and you can edit it in a 9:16 format that fits on the screen. Ideally, for a picture, you put your watches in the morning daylight, a nice light, and you take a natural picture with your phone horizontally. That way it makes life easier for me, especially if you have so many watches. It's pretty difficult to edit this whole thing. So I just put them all together now in one picture. So it's a bit easier for us to visualize what's going on. So yeah, one of the first watches here is the Planet Ocean. I always like the early ones. It reminds me a bit of the design of the classic Seamaster 300, the old one. I have a soft spot for those early Planet Ocean Omega. Also, I thought they looked very good on the wrist of Daniel Craig in his early tenure as a James Bond. I like the black ones, I like the orange ones, a lot of very cool watches. So this one is complemented by a Seamaster. I don't have much detail about that one. White Seamaster, I think it's one of the Olympic models. Cool looking watch. Then we have a Speedy, again, not much information. I think it's one of the recent moon watches, a classic in any collection. So already we are starting on pretty solid grounds there with Omega. And then we have two quirky ones from the 70s, which I like a lot. It's the Omega Chronostop from 1970, which was the go-to piece for Mr. M during the lockdowns, interestingly. This one was bought in 2018 from a vintage dealer in the UK. And then he also got the Speed Sonic, a chronograph with a great history that is powered by a battery with a tuning fork driving the movement. It's a conversation piece for the watch enthusiasts. So before you go and comment too quickly that this collection is too conventional with all these Rolex in it, as you can see, Mr. M is an enthusiast, and And I think there's room for both Rolex and other watches in any collection. And indeed, here we have this chronostop, interesting piece from 1974, his birth year. So we're almost the same age, and he likes to wear his Omegas on the NATO straps. Cool Omega collection. Now, before we get to the Rolex stuff, let's move on with the rest. We have two Tudors. We have a Black Bay 58, very cool, and one of the original Rangers. I think it looks great on the picture here. The original Rangers had the smiley, and I think I have a more affinity, and a lot of people share my opinion for the earlier model than the new redesigned model, which is a very nice case, nice bracelet. But the face of the watch is not as quirky and nice as the original one. So again, two cool additions to the collection. Then we have a funky Hamilton PSR, the Pulsar, their digital watch that gets a lot of attention and comments. Fun piece again. We have the Girard-Perregaux Laureato, fine horology, integrated case, blue dial. You gotta have one of those in the collection. He got it at a great discount, which is what you want to do with this watch. Prices went up for a while here in the whole frenzy of the past year, but now everything is coming back to retail. You're going to be able to find them again. It had hit its run. It's a cool watch. It's a nice watch. I've been able to handle it because my friend Simon has one as well. Interesting piece. Next we have three Seikos. Mr. M likes the King Turtle, which is an upgraded version of the Turtle. It has a ceramic bezel, a sapphire glass. He's got three different versions. I don't know for how long you're gonna enjoy these. I have a whole bunch of Seikos. I went through the whole gamut, and now I've started giving them away to my nephews. I gave the green one to my nephews who loves swimming and who loves green. So it's always great to gift those watches, and for them it's like a treasure, a 20-year-old having a very nice watch like this. So hopefully you'll end up doing the same thing, passing on to a nephew, to children, to people in your family. This love for watches. But there's always room for Seikos, and we all love different kind of Seikos. You gotta have them in the collection. All right, now let's get to the elephant in the room, the 10 Rolex watches here. All right, so we have two Datejust. We have the Steel Jubilee with the white gold bezel, blue dial, grand classic, very cool. And we have the chocolate two-tone, a watch that I like a lot. I've seen it in person. It's a rose gold, so marries well if you have a bit of a tan on the wrist, a bit more discreet than the yellow golds. Very nice, cool Datejust, a great one watch. Any watch in this collection could be your one watch and be very cool. Actually, it would be cooler. A lot of people will comment negatively about the amount of Rolex in the collection, but if you take them one by one, each one, if a guy was saying this is my only watch, everybody would say, oh, that's cool. And then when you accumulate many of them, people start seeing less the value of each of them individually. And it's a bit of a weird thing happening with collections sometimes. Anyway, moving on. We have the 36mm new Explorer. Very nice. I prefer the 39, but a lot of people prefer the 36. It's again, grand classic from a Rolex to have. We have black dial GV Milgauss. I used to have the blue dial. I moved on from it. I thought it was a bit too, it attracts so many scratches. It is a bit heavy. The hands are a bit of a odd shape, so the loom looks a bit bizarre at night. But I really like actually more and more the non-GVs, the white dial, the black dial, and also the black dial GV with the orange indices. It's a very quirky watch, a very cool watch, nice to have in the collection, and maybe one of the most collectibles. I think in the long term, it will be interesting to collect those those Milgauss. All right, next to it we have the Explorer 2 Polar Dial 5-digit. That was my first Rolex as well. Always a nice watch to have in a collection. Next we have maybe one of my favorites, and I think if you had to have just one, this could be the one. It was designed by Rolex to be that a bit of a more polished Submariner. It's the Yacht-Master there with the platinum bezel, with the blue dial, polished center links. A very cool watch that's a bit of everything, a best of Rolex, and yet it was a bit forgotten for the longest time. These days, though, not so easy to get even at the authorized dealer. And yeah, if the question was how would you reduce the collection, maybe I would just keep that one, because you can do everything with this bi-directional bezel, easy to time things. You have the water resistance, you have a bit of fancier look than the more dreary divers, and yeah, beautiful blue dial. Next to it we have Air King, quirky watch, been replaced by a new version that's improved in every possible way. I had one, then I got the Milgauss, so I sold the Air King because it's basically the same construction, quite top heavy type of watch, but again might be a collectible in 20 years. On the bottom row, on the left, we have the current Redline Sea Dweller 43 millimeters. Very cool. Great divers. I really love the Sea Dwellers. Doesn't matter which one, if it's the 5-digit, if it's the Sea Dweller 4000, which is already collectible, or if you go for the Redline, which is very cool, but of course bigger on the wrist. Very nice diver. Very, very cool. Next to it we have the Daytona with a two-tone champagne dial. Maybe not the most popular of them, still a very beautiful watch. I find that they start to age a little bit. The look, I wouldn't be surprised if it was revamped soon by Rolex, but great to have a Daytona in the collection. Next to it we have the GMT, of course, so we have a bit of everything here. We have the black discontinued. It has a lot of charm in itself as well. Everybody now wants, of course, the Pepsi, the Batman, the root beer, but the black had quite a lot of charm as well. So there you go, a lot of very nice watches, lots of quality watches in this collection. Yes, there's a lot of Rolex, a bit of all sorts, but it's not the most maybe well-known, most popular ones at the moment, which is good and bad. I'm guessing that if your AD now calls you for the Pepsi or the white dial Sky Dweller, or the black dial Sky Dweller, or maybe you know, another very desirable piece, or a steel Daytona, you're not gonna say no, and then you might have to move things in your collection. In your collection, I also see a lot of fun stuff. It's nice that you love the 70s style of Omega. It's quite complete. I can read in the subtext and also in the obvious text of your email that you're also looking at more expensive pieces, perhaps a Royal Oak or a Patek, but that yeah, your money now is tied up in this current collection, and that you would have to sell some pieces. So you might find yourself a bit stuck. It's something that's normal in the collection journey. So to those who will say, oh, there's too much Rolex, I think it's itches you can scratch. You know, they've been so popular, so in demand. If you can get them, you tend to take them, and then you see what's for you. For me, I moved on from certain models. It was never fun to sell any of my Rolex watches, but at the same time it was freeing, because I would free money to move on, and I think it's something you have to a path that you have to find yourself. It's normal that we tend to accumulate too much because of the passion for watches, but if you move on from certain pieces, keep the one you like the most, you want to keep forever, the ones that you think are collectibles, or the one that you are attached to, then you free up money for the next nice purchase in your collection. So there's nothing wrong with collection as it is. Each watch is of great quality. If I have to pick some favorites, maybe give you some ideas if you were to reduce the collection. I really feel strongly these days about the Yacht-Master, such a complete watch. I think there's always room for the Explorer in a collection. Of your two, Datejust, I prefer the two-tone. I think I would keep the Daytona. It's very, I like the two-tone Daytona as well, and the Champagne has its own presence, its own style. Keep the GMT for now. You'll see maybe if you get a Batman or a Pepsi from your AD, maybe you can do a little trade there. You gotta have a diver, so the Seamaster is a great one. Now the Air King and the Milgauss, you know, I moved on from them, so that's going to be up to you. The Tudors are really, I mean, I don't there's not really a resale for the Black Bay 58, and it's a great watch. I think it's a keeper for the long term to pass on to a kid or someone. Of course, it's a bit junior when you have already the Sea Dweller, for example, but it's also a gateway to the vintage Rolex, which is such a difficult market. And I really like the Tudor Ranger. I think that's a keeper. It's a cool watch. I like your Omega collection. Everything is cool in there. You know, enjoy it as long as you enjoy it, and if you don't, well, you can always move on and sell those pieces. And yeah, the Laureato, the Hamilton, cool, fun watches. I wouldn't add too many more Seikos. Maybe just keep one of the King Turtles and move on from the rest. Maybe make somebody in the family or an acquaintance happy. They are nice gifts. And so for the rest, yeah, it's going to be. I can feel that. You're reaching that point where you might want to reduce the collection, move on, free up some money, and I think it's totally natural. And I'm going through the same phase. Personally, right now, I'm enjoying more wearing my recent dressier acquisitions, and also my Patek 5296, because every other housewife in Hong Kong has a Batman or a Daytona. Even if I get one from the AD, it's a great pleasure for myself to own them, but then wearing them outside, so many people wear them as a token of their success in society, of wealth. And it makes it tough for us who enjoy the watches and the technicalities of them. I'm sure most of the people I see wearing the Batman here in Hong Kong don't even know how to set the GMT. They just want something that shows off some wealth. I don't like that side of Rolex, and I have more pleasure wearing things that people know less, but then watch people respect more. And it's true that as much as I would love to have a Pepsi, if I go to a watch meet, I'm never going to wear that because everybody knows it. I mean, there's nothing to discover about the case, the movement, or anything. Everybody would love to have one, but there's nothing to talk about. And I prefer more watches that there's something to talk about. But there's room for both in the collection. I really love my mini Rolex collection. I've really sought after certain pieces. And then for the rest, I prefer to move my money to something else. And there's a lot of redundancy in my collection. I should sell a few things. It's never easy because we buy them for a good reason. We love them, we enjoy them, we scratch the itch, and then at one point you make the big decision to reduce and move on. Do you need a dress piece? Do you need a Patek on a strap? I don't know. That's up to you. I think the Datejusts are dressy enough in the modern world. They are beautiful watches. I really like your chocolate Datejust, for example, there. But yeah, if you feel that itch again, you gotta scratch it, and you gotta maybe get that Patek or the longer or Jaeger Le Coultre. It doesn't have to be so expensive. There are great dress watches at every price point from $300 $2 or $3 million. I know that you've put a lot of money in the collection, and I know that you have been careful in what you've been buying, that you took a long time to put together this collection. Some people will reduce it in the comments as another Rolex collection. I don't think that's what it is. I understand perfectly your journey, and yeah, I wish you the best. I hope I've made some sense in how I view your collection and where the path might take you from here. I think you will reach that point where you will feel there's a bit too much weight on your mind carrying all these pieces, and you will look to simplify and make something that very coherent, and that you enjoy more than having too much. But hey, if you have the collecting mindset, and if you want to collect by the numbers and have everything, and wait to see if they will be very valuable in 20 years, then keep everything. By no means, you know how difficult it is to replace certain pieces, especially from the Rolex collection. Well, there you go, guys. I don't have any suggestion of anything to add, because there's already so much. I think any change here would be have to be drastic, and big reduction, and then add something very different to the collection. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you, Mr. M, for sharing your collection, and all the best there in Shanghai. It's not been fun, and it might not be fun in the coming months or even years. I hope you're doing well, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.